Oh, yes, seriously, ask anything about Portugal Wednesday. Carl Munson here from expatsportugal.com with the Good Morning Portugal show. How are you today? Do let me know in the comments. People have been doing that already. Look at this. Let's go and have a look, see who's here this morning. Andrea, Matty's a customary greeting with a beautiful outburst of Portuguese for us this morning. Bom dia de alegria. E feliz, middle of the week. Meio de semana a todos, os meus amigos em Amsterdam. Very good, Matty. So a happy middle of the week and a joyous good day to everybody. And my friends, is that to my friends in Amsterdam or to my friends from Amsterdam? I'm thinking, okay, it's a hot one here on the coast, on the Silver Coast this morning. Been out with the dogs this morning, and I've got a bit of a dab on. Sorry if you're having to see that. Makeup. I think I need a bit of foundation or something, or powder on my forehead. Andrea is coming in with a bracket there. Is that a new kind of emoticon there, Andrea? Andrea Hogan, or a hieroglyphic? Ancient Egyptian. Thank you. I'm going to take that as an ancient Egyptian for Bond here. Alegria there. Hank Stelica back in his position as we used to know him pre-Portugal, where he would be talking to us and, being an all-round good egg in the comments here. Starting off the day with a bon dia from sunny California. Good morning to you, Hank. How are you? And how's Connie this morning? And bon dia to Andrea. The Dutch are talking to each other this morning. Hank, Matty, everyone, bon dia, everyone, from Andy there. Question already coming in. Is there a good app for Android phones to help with translations on the go, like at the market, on the streets and so on? Well, yeah, Google Translate. And I was having this conversation with Joao. Remember Joao, the lovely man who sent in very complimentary feedback about the show and how pleased he was with the job we're doing here in this community. And he sent me, it's about classic cars actually. So you classic car fans are working on something with Joao. But he sent me an article from ACP, actually, who we deal with, one of our partners. And to do with classic cars, he said it's in Portuguese. Do you mind? And I said, well, I'll put it through Google Translate. And I know Portuguese people, for European Portuguese speakers, not necessarily that keen on Google Translate, but it's good enough. It's better than not at all. So that's what Hank Stelica is saying. And maybe he's speaking from experience on his recent visit to Portugal, where that might have come in handy. And it's a very clever bit of technology, let's face it. You can use your camera and you can actually scan signs and menus and stuff and have it translated for you. Menus, maybe not so good, because you end up with some funny things like headlights in garlic, as I did recently. But anyway, I didn't order them. Good morning, Matty from Andrea there. I'm glad we got that sorted out. If you're wondering, if you're waiting for the aforementioned and advertised marvelous Michael Heron, fear not, because he is here now. Let's bring him onto the screen. Hump Day and Michael Heron here. First Wednesday of the month. How are you, my friend?
Very good morning, Carl. Everyone, how are you?
Pretty good, mate. It's a hot one here, though, this morning already. You know, when it gets really into summer here and it's hot by 9 o'clock, it's really summer in Portugal. Have you got that where you are?
Yeah, and I felt it yesterday evening as well. It was like having all the windows open. I thought I was in Madrid again in August. It was really, really warm.
Yeah, it's amazing. I think it's the solar effect on the land and the buildings is there, isn't it? And the residual heat is there, and it doesn't dissipate in the way that it does in the cooler temperatures. And you're really feeling like you're on holiday, which is great for us Brits from the colder climes, isn't it? Where our senses were born in a colder place, and this can really start to affect us. And we'll be complaining about the heat in no time, I'm sure.
Yeah, well, mate, I remember going back to the UK from holiday in Spain in the summer and like having to turn the heating on when we got home in September. It's just ridiculous. So, yeah, for anyone thinking about moving to Portugal, get your skates on and get out here where the weather's wonderful all year round.
And are you thinking as well it's going to be a late summer this year? It got off to a strange start, I think. It was quite a wet beginning to the year, wasn't it? I'm thinking it's going to be one of those long summers, late summers, well into October maybe.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, I think that the temperature will start to drop like mid to end September, and it will just. But I found what happens is it tends to like plateau to like 19, 20 degrees until like middle of October, and then it's a lottery. It can vary a lot. I mean, I remember first year I moved to Portugal, the last so the Sunday when the clocks went back, it was like 32 degrees. And I was at the beach, and it was so surreal because all of a sudden it got to like 5:30. I was like, all right, we need to go home because it's going to be pitch black in like 20 minutes. So yeah, it was a really surreal experience. So yeah, it can vary a lot, I think. But yeah, I'm like you, mate. I think we'll probably have a late summer, hopefully.
All right. So how you been? What you been up to? How was your August?
Yeah, I've been good, mate. I've been good. Yeah, it was really good. Quite busy. I've noticed. Well, I always find in Portugal, depending on the sector you work in, that most people who work in like the corporate world tend to take a holiday in August, or like the first 2 weeks or second 2 weeks of August. So August was fairly chilled, and then literally, excuse me, from 2 days ago, it's just gone bananas again. But yeah.
We had Gilda talking to Gilda on Monday. She couldn't speak to us from the office because she hadn't even crossed the bridge by about 8:30. She was stuck on the south side of the water. So everyone was back at work, I think, weren't they, on Monday?
Yeah.
And now we're in September, 1st of September. Happy September, everybody!
I know, happy September. It's crazy, isn't it? I can't believe how quickly this year's going. It's unbelievable. I don't know if everyone feels the same.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's very true. There's a quickening going on. Okay, so let's ease our way into the show this morning. And we're being sent a lot of photographs, sunrises and sunsets. We've got a beautiful sunset to go out with. If you've got a sunrise from this morning and want to share it, do. If you've got a Portuguese sunset or wherever you are. I mean, a lot of people who are tuned in and making their way to Portugal. So we're getting beautiful sunrises and sunsets from Africa, from Australia as well. We have an Algarve holiday snap from Monica. Thank you very much, Monica.
Wow.
Yeah, heavy rock in the Algarve there. And you could just see at the bottom of the screen there, the little walkway. And Portugal's so strong on this. The walkways by the beach is either wooden or carved out of the stone with little handrails for your safety. So a lovely picture of the Algarve there. Thank you for that, Monica. And then Andy was out on a trip on Sunday or Monday, and I overlooked these. They're piling in, and things get buried. So sorry, it's a bit later than I would have hoped, Andy. Via Austin on Facebook, as you might know him. But these are fantastic snaps from his walk in the Aveiro district. We might need a translation, folks, for this one. Bem-vindo. Seja quem vier por bem. So what does that mean?
I think it just means welcome to those that
who are good.
Who are good on the right path or something like that. Who come to us on the right path, something like that. Maybe someone else can confirm that. Yeah, I think it's good. Welcome to those that arrive on good terms or like in a good way or something like that.
Yeah.
Basically, if you misbehave, F off. Don't even come this way.
Exactly. But that's a much nicer way of putting it, isn't it?
It is.
There.
It's more welcoming than saying it the other way.
It might have been on this building here, the doors and balconies of Portugal. Isn't that a lovely setup there?
Yeah.
Looks like there's no one in it at the moment, but you'll see this a lot in Portugal. But fabulous doors and windows made of some good hardwood by the look of it.
Isn't it?
Yeah, they haven't had any treatment for a while, but they're still holding up, just waiting for somebody maybe to come along and renovate that. And then off into the countryside on the same walk with that little view down. There's that tractor disappearing, and it does look a little bit autumnal, but I think that's just eucalyptus debris on the path there. What an interesting life you have, Andy. And this one, that pumpkin harvest. That's extraordinary, isn't it? There's a load more squashes and pumpkins on the balcony of this building. Looks like another one that hasn't been lived in for a little while. But the harvest is very respectable in the Aveiro district for as we move towards Halloween, the night of the Bruges. Maybe they're getting ready for that. But you could feast. Well, you'd have more than enough pumpkin and squash there than you could ever wish for. So thank you, folks, for sending in your photos. More coming in, I see, as I mention it. So yes, Michael's here. And always keen to answer the questions that come in. And we lay ourselves wide open and ask you to ask anything you like about Portugal. Did you have any sort of themes?
As was proven last time.
Oh, yeah. She's not still looking for an answer to that question, you know. So let's see what curveballs are sent our way this morning.
Yeah.
Okay. Matty's saying 2 more times sleeping in my hop me, and then no sleep driving to Portugal. What's that? You got to rest. We're not tolerating this driving through the night with on Pro Plus or whatever. So I'm not sure what you're up to there, Matty. But what is it? Do you know what hop me is? Oh, my home maybe.
Yeah,
I think
presumably, yeah.
In his haste to communicate with us. So 2 more nights at home, and then on his way to Portugal.
Maybe if anyone can recommend like good places for him to stop along the way, because I think that is a savage drive to do it in one sitting.
From the Netherlands, and enjoy the journey. And come on, you're a bit of a hippie guy, Matty.
Yeah.
Life is a journey, not a destination. So enjoy your calma, tranquilo. Get into the spirit, the Portuguese spirit. Portuguese waitress who couldn't speak English with me in Braga busted it out first. I think he's talking about Google Translate there. I hope he is. I used it to talk with people at the University of Porto. So yeah, you can stand with phone in hand on Google Translate and get by with Google Translate. Not it's an amazing bit of tech. I am being a bit picky, and I think some people are when they say it's not entirely accurate. But I'm sure it gets better every. But do you have got more to say on that, Michael, on Google Translate?
Well, do you know what's fascinating? So I just say good morning to Jim because he's been kind enough to say good morning to both of us. So good morning, Jim. But yeah, what I was going to say is because I've noticed that with Google Translate it varies depending which language you're translating to. But I have noticed that when you're translating Portuguese to English with Google Translate, it is actually extremely accurate. I don't know if that's because of the way the languages are both structured, or maybe it's just a very common translation. So a lot of people are using it and correcting the algorithm, and it's just correcting itself and making it very accurate. So I think, it's you can rely on it from Portuguese to English. You can rely on it really well. I think
that's good to know. Thank you for that. Yeah, and it's interesting to note, isn't it, that it's not like publishing a book anymore. When you had the old phrase book where you were, where could I get my shoe resold, please, mister? And phrases like that. But once that book was published, that was it. It was set in not in stone exactly, but pretty much. And now with the digital platforms, they are constantly evolving, aren't they? So give things a second chance, I think, digitally. If you've had a bad experience with Google Translate, I think better to have it than not to have it. Tom is here as well. Good morning, everybody. Bon dia. Always fun and exciting to watch.
Good morning.
Yeah, never the same day twice here. I mean, there are some similar themes. But yesterday, for example, talking about cycling in Portugal, which was fantastic with Sarah.
Nice.
Yeah, it was quite amazing. And today, Michael's here. Ask anything about Portugal. Oh yeah, and if you do want to send us an interesting question, a recorded one, we can play that as well. Again, laying ourselves even further open to possible.
What are you doing? What are you trying to do to me?
Spiced it up a little bit. Let's see. Me and my dog. It used to only do that, but it supports European Portuguese. There you go. So it has broadened already as we speak. Yeah. I was surprised, but it's there, says Hank. Okay, good to know, Hank, but it will need an internet connection too, I assume. Actually, I think you can download, a bit like with the maps, you can download quite a lot of it as well. But tell us about internet in Portugal, Michael. I mean, most towns have got free internet that you go to, haven't they?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely improved a lot since I first got here, but I would say on the whole, it's pretty good. But it can vary depending on where you're living and which location you're in. But I would say generally the internet here is pretty quick, pretty reliable, and cheap. More importantly, very cheap. Especially compared to maybe someone coming from. Sorry to always use the UK for those not in the UK, but I guess it's just easier for me to explain it because I've actually lived there. But if you imagine in the UK you wanted to have the full package, so all the cable TV channels, internet, Wi-Fi at home, and a couple of mobile phone numbers with unlimited minutes per month, you'd be looking at easily 150, maybe 200 quid a month. Whereas in Portugal, you can get a package like that for 50 euros.
Yes, indeed.
Maybe a bit more if you want premium sport or movie channels. But yeah, for 50 euros, you can get a couple of phones, internet, phone line. Well, who has a landline these days at home? I don't think anyone does, right? But you can have that if you want.
That's a great question.
Yeah.
So who does?
Who has a landline?
Yeah, who has a landline? And we're not mocking you, but it's just
well, we are a little bit. We are a little bit.
Michael is mocking you, but I'm not. I wouldn't do that to you.
Okay.
And we also want to know, because I suspect, Michael, if somebody has got a landline at home, the fixed line part, they also, when they answer it, they do so in a very formal way. I might say, Lisbon, 216-917. How may I help you? And maybe put a little bit.
That's an older generation thing, isn't it? Where they answer the phone telling you the number you've already dialed. Why would you do that? So you don't open your front door and tell them your address and postcode before you find out who they are.
That never occurred to me. So you could do that to an Amazon delivery person. Just tell them your address, and then they look at you and go, well, I know, I just kind of got here with this parcel for you. That had never occurred to me. But funny thing is, I can remember my phone numbers as growing up as a kid, from the repetition in the background of parents picking up the phone. And they would say the exchange and then the number. Quite extraordinary. Yeah. Okay. And I think Paul might remember that. He might even know his number from, it might be, and back in the day when there were maybe, I'm not being rude here, Paul, I'm the same, but greetings from Harrogate, rain, wind, yes, autumn is here. But it might have been Harrogate 2698, just 4 numbers before the whole world got a phone or a mobile phone. Only a few people had phones, and other people would borrow other people's phones. They'd come round, if they hadn't got a phone themselves, come round on a Sunday to ring Australia or something like that, give you the money for the call. Bon dia, alegria para todos from Virginia Law.
Bon dia, Virginia.
How are you? And Andy needing to get this out of his system. Hey, Matria! I was piggybacking. Thank you, Andy. I was piggybacking on Portugal's towers, so my connection sucks. So I had to use it offline a few times, no problem. So that's going back to the Google Translate. You can download a package of that. Thank you, Hank, for that as well. It's very reassuring that we've got our own special way of communicating with each other. And I noticed that Andy has sent in a somewhat semi-naked. You said, what are you doing to me? No sooner have I invited people to, I don't know if we should send it or not. I mean, first, and it's getting pretty random, I have to say as well, Michael. He's sent a picture in of himself hugging his big dog, which I think is safe to show. And so this is a moment. This is an Athena poster. It should be in black and white with a soft edge to it, where you can go, oh, man hugs massive dog.
Very nice.
Yes, a real beauty. I think that creature is called Alpha. It must be
beautiful.
A local legend. Size of it,
massive.
Her.
Look at the size of the head. It's bigger than his forearm.
That's right. And I've said this before, but when Alpha wants to go investigate something, you're just going with her, aren't you? There's no question about what happens.
Yeah, you're along for the ride.
you are along for the ride. I hope
a bit like this podcast.
But then he's also sent a video in, and you can see the first frame of it on WhatsApp, of course, and he's naked on the beach. So look away now, everybody, if you are in any way sensitive, because I don't even know what this is, but I'm going to take the risk of playing it for you now. Michael is thinking to himself, Carl, what? No, but we're going to do it, Michael. We're going to do it.
Where are we, Guy?
In paradise.
It's all right, isn't it? Yeah. It's not bad.
The view. Let us see
Amazing.
The view.
That's what I love about Portugal, the beaches, man. Because honestly, sometimes I send pictures to people and they think I'm like in the Dominican Republic or something. Because like some of the beaches are like sandy white, and you could be anywhere. So yeah, that's awesome. Thanks for sharing that. That's awesome.
Yeah, thanks, Andy and Margarita there for that. That could have been a lot worse. Good morning.
It could have been a lot.
Good morning, people from Lee. Head Gardener McGrady's here, everybody. Good morning from Gemini as well. Where are the questions, everybody, this morning? I think people are just enjoying hanging out, aren't they? Tamara Monazov, good morning to you, Tamara.
Maybe we've run out of material, mate. That's it. We're done now. There's nothing more to say about Portugal. It's just we've said everything.
So that might be it. We've done a few shows together, and everything's sorted out now. So you just watch the old. Okay, that's okay. Then we would just refer people to the programs we made earlier and everything's nailed on that.
Okay, we can just sit here and talk. It's even better.
Let's just hang out and chat this morning then. Hola, bon dia, alegria from Kent over there in the States. How are you, Kent? Ella in Finland. Good morning, everybody. And from Bob. Love your work, Bob. Thank you so much for that. Good morning from Parareiras, Alentejo. a bit of a light rain shower here this morning. And I haven't told you this, Michael, but I've fallen in love with 2 new places in the last week in Portugal.
Tell me.
Well, went to the Alto Alentejo, to Castelo de Vide on Saturday.
Okay.
Absolutely beautiful. Usual thing. Oh my goodness, this is the place. I found it. You know, all of Portugal is great, as we often say here, and there's a surprise around every corner. But then you go to somewhere, and it's like, it's incredible. Then a branch 2 days ago. Have you been to a branch?
Nope.
Or as an Englishman might say, a branches. But a branch, incredible. And it's hard to know this, that it's so beautiful on the top of the hill when you look at it from the outside, because it's not the prettiest of towns to look at from the main road down in the valley. You know, you're on the Tejo River where it meets the Zezer River as well. But you go up into the town and fall in love with it, as I did. Quietest, friendliest place I think I've been to, and so I'm still dealing with that to some extent, of falling in love with these new places. And I found another property that I've fallen in love with as well. I don't think I'm going to be buying this one. I think it's on the market for 10 million. But I thought, if there aren't any questions, you and I can have a little look at this in Golgan or Golgar in the Ribatejo Valley, put my way by Thomas Malloy, who'll be with us on the webinar tomorrow night. It's the Ask Our Expats special. And we'll have a look at this property. You will be staggered, honestly. Michael, everyone watching, you'll be staggered by this incredible palace of a place in the Ribatejo Valley in Golgan, which is the equestrian capital, really, of Portugal. And we'll have a little wander through that and think about what we might do with that property in just a moment. But yeah, Bob, Bianca, good morning to you both there in the Alentejo. Loved it. Went to the Alto Alentejo, to the Castelo de Vide. Very, very special, Alentejo. It is, and underrated, I would say. Good morning, everyone. Patricia is saying to us. Good morning to you, Patricia. And bon dia from South Carolina, USA. Can't wait to be there in Portugal. It's a very common condition these days, isn't it? People not being able to wait to be here with us, Michael. And that's Xander's mum, number one.
Amazing.
Mark is here. Thanks for your company last night, Mark, on the Spiritual Portugal show. That was great, from Norfolk, just up the road from
Good lads.
Yeah, where Michael hails from. Gareth McCumsky's here as well. Bon dia for once. I'm not joining late. Well done,
bon dia, Gareth.
Gold star. Look at this. Carl, looking sexy as always. Is he trying to he's just sledging me a little bit there, isn't he? He's trying to break, yeah, he's trying to.
That could be interpreted in so many different ways, couldn't it?
But I'm going to go with it. I think it's the slight outbreak of moisture on my capacious forehead that's doing it for him. We shall see. I do need powder, I think, at this time of year. I've discovered when the temperature gets to this. Who knows how much more I will melt between now and 10 o'clock. I love this show, says Andrea. Everyone is so friendly. Sorry, Cat walked on the keyboard earlier. Ah, okay, and did a self-portrait. And I think you almost
very nice.
This was what the cat did earlier on. Which almost looks like the rear end of a cat as it moves away from you.
Yeah.
That is a self-portrait. That's extraordinary. That's a social media viral sensation in the making, possibly. Cat does self-portrait on owner's keyboard. So thank you for that. Thank you for explaining that, Andrea, as well. The old tea-towel holder pencil sharpener thing going on there. Fantastic. Bon dia alegria from Jeff Jackson in the States as well. Apartment book, says Patricia. Flights booked. Okay, let's go to this. Apartment, check. Flights, check. Bank account, check. Can't wait for 1st October to be.
What feeling! Do you know what, Patricia? You've reminded me of like that feeling when you're getting all your admin together, but you've got everything set up, and it's literally just waiting for moving day. And it's the best feeling. Honestly, it's awesome. So thank you for sharing that, because that's giving me a lot of nostalgia. Well, look, maybe this is a good time, Carl, to flip it a little bit instead of you asking me questions and people asking me questions, because we must be coming up to 4 years that you've been in Portugal now, right? Or over 4 years now.
Nearly. No, 17th of September we arrived.
17th of September. And we met it was around November 2017, the first time we met, wasn't it? I think you'd been here a couple of months.
Was it as early as that in the journey?
Yeah, wow. Yeah. So, how's the journey been for you? Because it's been quite an interesting. Change of, you've lived in different places as well. How are you feeling about it?
Very good indeed. Yes, and we're about to be on the move again. So the adventure is not over.
Amazing.
And, how do you want me to do this? Do you want me to do it in the style of Steve Gerrard at a post-match press conference?
If you want, however you want to. It's your show, mate, so you can do whatever you want.
Yeah. So how's it been? Yeah, it's been emotional. The lads have done good. The family's done all right. You know, they're holding it together, and we're looking for a new place now. So yeah, it's good.
I mean, I think the best part of that whole thing was we've had people in the comments complaining about my accent that they can't understand me. So now they're still not going to have a clue what you're saying there, mate. That might as well have been. Then I think you're talking your mother tongue there.
if you want to know what just happened there, please.
That wasn't Carl speaking in his mother tongue. That wasn't Mandarin. That was English.
Look up Steven Gerrard, Liverpool player. That's what he used to do, pretty much, isn't it? After every gig. Oh, and we got to. Yes, I'm very happy to talk about my adventure in Portugal. You know, the amazing thing, like I just said, 4 years in and still falling in love with new places.
I know.
That's what's extraordinary. That's what's extraordinary. Yeah.
Because I think a lot of people, I don't know if it still happens, but it used to be quite common with expats, and sometimes it would happen the nature of their placement and their work. But I know a lot of people that after a year or two, or even 3, they kind of not give up, but they decide to go home. And I think, I don't know what your experience has been, Carl, but for me, I find it takes at least 2 years before you start to feel at home. And I think then 4 or 5 years when you feel like, yeah, this is it now. I think I'm going to be here long term. I mean, obviously anything can happen, right? But how was that for you and yours?
That's so interesting. You should say that, and a really good subject for us to talk about. You know how it is for expats and that the emotional part of the journey. And for me, I don't know. I think I've got there are the sort of different archetypes. I think of expats. I think I'm a Viking archetype. You know, the boat is burnt. I never. Well, I mean, you know, our modern equivalent, the camper van, broke down here. So it was effectively like the burning of the longboat, because this is what the Vikings used to do. Apparently, you know, mythologically, they would go to a new place and burn the boat on the beach. So there was no going back. It wasn't about a visit.
Wow, I didn't know that analogy. That's a really good way of putting it, though.
Yeah. So burning your longboat, and that's the approach. I think I speak for Mrs. M in this regard, is that we were coming here to be here. It wasn't to see if we liked it. We just, you know, I don't know. We didn't even think about that. I just think we knew we'd like it, and we do, which is a relief, isn't it? Kids seem perfectly happy, and I don't have that in the back of my mind. Well, I can always go home. This feels like home to me. It's extraordinary. So. And I see it's not like that for everybody. You know, some people are a bit more tentative than that, aren't they? It's a bit more experimental. So I don't know. There's the scientist, and then there's the Viking. And I don't know. We could develop some other more archetypes of how expats approach this. But yeah, you know, answering that, I don't have it in the back of my mind that this might not work and I might go home at some point. This is home. It's just about, you know, the thing for us is this continually falling in love with new places and having an untamed wanderlust in this fantastic country. And you know, Bob mentioning the Alentejo there, going there, it felt like a whole new territory on Saturday. You know, the frontier with Spain, and that had never occurred to me. I think, you know, I'm aiming to be Portuguese. I'm as Portuguese as I'm trying, hoping, endeavoring to be. It's Portugal for me, and it's not that I want to go to Spain, but the idea of how it's quiet in Portugal, on the border there of an evening, and if you want a bit of fun, you go into Spain. I thought, well, that sounds interesting. There's a whole other country the other side of this border with a very different nature and temperament, and all of that to explore and enjoy. So
you're missing out. You're missing out on the best thing about living close to the border or being able to access the border is New Year's Eve. You can celebrate it twice.
2 of those, right? Yeah, absolutely.
2, because of the time difference. You pop over to Spain, celebrate once, then pop back to Portugal, and then an hour later it's New Year's again. You got 2 New Year's Eves. When there's nowhere else in the world you can do that, I don't think.
And it predates the rave scene, doesn't it? Because you'll be probably having a very full-on Spanish New Year's Eve, and then come back to a chill-out style, possibly Portuguese one. A little bit. I don't know. I don't know how the Portuguese do New Year's.
I mean, the Spanish tend to do it like the Portuguese. They'll have dinner at home with the family, so it's a very chilled one. And then I don't know what the culture in Portugal is, but I think it's similar to Spain. You then go out. If you're going to go out, you go out after you've had dinner with your family. So that was definitely how I did it in Spain, and I think in Portugal it's a similar kind of vibe. Because in England it's really like that, and I think in the US as well, it's just like it's a young person's night, isn't it?
Yes,
people don't tend to spend it with family, do they? Like Christmas.
No, you go out. Yeah, absolutely. I remember as a teenager trying to find the best party to go to for New Year's Eve to see the New Year in, but generally being in a car a few minutes before midday, not making it to the party, and just, in our efforts to find the best party, not being anywhere at all and just quietly shaking hands with people next to you in the car. But I do remember a legendary Nerja in Spain, down there, the southernmost part of Spain, the Balcon, which is part of this little feature of Nerja in the south of Spain. And that was an amazing New Year's Eve with fireworks there as it juts, the southernmost part of Spain into the Mediterranean. I was there with my mate Damien, who was, we had such a laugh. He's a wheelchair user. And I think it was quite expaty Brit influence, this thing, with all the fireworks and doing the Okie Kokie and singing Old Lang Syne, bagpiper, all that sort of stuff. Doing the Okie Kokie in his wheelchair. And
Nice.
he was being a bit of a pest as usual with the ladies. And he was, wheeling in, wheeling out, and then hit a curbstone, flipped over backwards and ended up in a hedge. And it's one of those moments where we were laughing so much, there was nothing we could do.
Yeah. You can't. I mean, you'd have to laugh. You'd help him after. You'd help him back up afterwards. But it was
when we got told off by somebody, like, what, don't be. This is terrible. Why are you, being like this with this poor disabled man? But we were just in fits of giggles. Not unlike when he also at Nerja, same holiday, freewheeling the wheelchair down to the beach on the boardwalk. Marvelous, all going very well until you hit the sand, and then the wheelchair comes to a complete stop. It's in physics, it's just meeting an immovable or force there of the sand. The wheelchair stops, but the man in the wheelchair doesn't. The man in the wheelchair is flung from the wheelchair face first into the sand. And again, we're laughing too much again to be able to help him back in on Christmas Day on the beach there. But sorry, all of that's quite a diversion into the past and into Spanish festivities, New Year's Eve and Christmases. But you're absolutely right, Michael.
One thing I should mention is that here they call it the Réveillon, which is the party that you can. So a lot of the hotels, you'll start to see them advertising Réveillon, and it's basically like a package where you can normally get like dinner, the party afterwards, and a room in the hotel, all included. And sometimes the deals are really quite interesting, and there are even some really expensive, like premium options, but like you get these amazing experiences. So I remember a couple of years ago, there was a restaurant that was offering, it was quite expensive. It was like 350 euros per person, but to watch the Gypsy Kings live in this restaurant eating dinner on New Year's Eve. Yeah, things like that, like crazy stuff like that. So maybe on the 1st of December, we'll do like, when we do it or whenever it is, in the first Wednesday in December, we'll do a New Year's Eve one, and we'll talk about all the options, because Madeira is the go-to place for New Year's Eve. Yeah, they do a huge firework display. They do an amazing one in Lisbon as well. So if you're in Lisbon or Porto, go down to where they're doing it at the river. But in Madeira, they do it at the harbour and south of Funchal, and it's meant to be like the most spectacular firework display. Like they invest a lot of money in it. So we can talk about that in December. But yeah, there's definitely a big culture here with New Year's.
I hear people writing that down in their things to do in Portugal list.
Yeah,
I didn't know about that. Thank you very much for that.
My pleasure.
Andrea Hogan, best community on the internet, hands down. Oh, that's from Hank.
That's sweet. I love the word community. It's a great word, isn't it? And I think it sums it up perfectly.
Yeah, I think so. I'd like to think so. That's what we pride ourselves on at Expats Portugal. Knowledge and community are two watchwords there. I arrived in Lisbon 2 months ago from California. It says Tamara, thanks to you and the rest of the gang in Expats Portugal group for giving me the courage to move to Portugal. That's lovely to hear as well, isn't it?
That's great, Tamara. These are the stories we want to hear, right? I mean, because it's easy for us to sit here and talk because we're already here. But I think the people that live the dream themselves and get up and do it, they're the inspiring ones. So Tamara, thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, and I hope I answered your question there, Michael. That's how I see it. Portugal is home now.
Yeah.
And
you talking about the fact that you're discovering new places all the time. I think that's really important, and I think that's a huge selling point for Portugal. Because there are so many little like towns and villages to visit. I mean, for a country that is relatively small geographically speaking. I mean, especially for someone coming from the US, you can drive from the north to the south in under 5 hours, I think. To have such variety in terms of what you can see and do and experience, you're not going to find anywhere quite like it. So yeah, it's definitely that kind of expat feeling of when you arrive in a new country, but there's so much to explore, and it's so accessible as well. It's not like, you know, you live in the US and you've got 50 odd states to visit, but you know, you have to organize it. Whereas here, if you've got a car, you can visit the whole country.
So true, so true. And this diversity of experiences has the Portuguese DNA running through it still, though. That's what I find really fascinating here, is that there's something about Portuguese people and culture that runs throughout that. So the exterior can change, and you can go to different weather and different culture to a great extent, but the essence of the people, the soul of the people, presents itself in any of those places, as we found in a branch. You know, we forgive me for repeating myself, but you haven't heard this, Michael. It's important to say, because we spoke to one lady in a branch who said, you know, if you go up that little cobbled street there, there's a place where you can get a pizza. So we walked up there and we started walking, and it was always a bit scary, isn't it, when you've been walking for longer than you think you should have been, and you should have found it by now. And then this lady appeared walking her dog, and we said, you know, in our best possible Portuguese, you know, can you help us find the restaurant? She walked us there. She took us, and on the way, she was singing the praises of the town, why she'd moved there, and then gave us some other links of people she knew and other places we should visit. And this was all in a little bit of a, you know, we exchanged phone numbers, and she sent these details to me on WhatsApp, and it was just incredible. And it's that essence of the people, the soul of Portugal. But it comes out wherever you go in the whole diversity and richness of experience that you talked about as well. So if you're thinking about coming here, I don't know how much more we can sing the praises of this place. Tomorrow, he's already loving it.
There you go.
And thanking us for giving her the courage to do so. That's lovely to hear tomorrow. Bon dia a todos from Ubium there, and reminding us of the hashtag today. Ask anything about Portugal Day. First Wednesday of the month, Michael Heron joins me. Marvelous Michael Heron, as I like to call him. Even when people disagree, they do it agreeably. There you go. There's another thing. You got the top show car. Oh, Gemini, thank you so much. And Thunder's here with Thunder Ducks here as well. Bon dia alegria to
bon
you. Can vouch for the scanner. It worked a bit. Okay, yeah, it's the scanning thing on the Google Translate. My goodness, we're behind on the comments here. Michael, there's one for you.
Hello, Hank. How's it going, buddy?
We have 2 large dogs and are searching for a long-term rental. We nothing about pets anywhere. Does that mean you can't find any, or you can't find out what about pets?
Oh yeah, if it doesn't say anything about pets, then they're allowed. Generally, they're quite the rental. It's not like the UK or other countries where they say no dogs allowed or no cats allowed. Like here, it's
no children allowed.
It's pretty unusual for them to say no animals.
Yes. So the answer to that question is Portugal pet friendly. Yes, indeed. Absolutely. And you know, I've said this before, but I have said to landlords, it's all right to have dogs, and they look at you and like, well, why wouldn't it be? What's the problem here? What's happening there, Mike? Is your technology falling over?
No, it's just I just had to unplug something, unplug something in because my laptop battery was about to die, so I just had to quickly. I don't think I did it very subtly though, so sorry.
I thought I saw a slight look of terror go across your face there. Yeah. Bon dia, Carlo Michael from Jersey, who's been here recently as well, and from
Bon dia, Jersey.
A cooler, fresher start to Lisboa this month. Oh, okay, so we've got the warmer weather. It would seem it's starting to feel like the embrace of summer is starting to.
Nice.
Oh, come on. It's just a British sentiment that. Yeah. I'm predicting a long and late summer, so don't take any notice of that. Feels like 10,000 years since we left Portugal 4 weeks ago. Can't wait to get back, says Hank. Temperature drop? No, Thunder's not up for that in Lisbon. Good morning. Deepol is a good translator with European Portuguese. Okay, yeah, people. I've never tried it, but people do speak highly of it. Mobile and PC, and you can listen to the pronunciation.
I would say one thing about these apps, though. I think there is a danger that if you get too comfortable using it, you won't actually be brave enough to speak without it. So I think, you know, by all means use it, but I think it's a bit like, you know, when you get used to driving with a GPS the whole time, with a sat nav the whole time, but then you don't realize actually you know where you're going and you're a lot more comfortable. You're a better driver without it. So I think, you know, by all means start to use it, but then try not to as well.
That's why he's here. That's why he gets paid the big bucks. Michael Heron, everybody.
Stop trolling me, man. We had enough of that last time.
Bom dia from Antonio. Hey up, Antonio. And this is true as well. You'll always have San Martino summer in November. So true. Great. That's the extended season right there. Good morning.
Honestly, mate, like, I thought people were joking because my first year I had a really seasonal autumn, and then it got to the first week in November and we just had like 23 degrees for like 2 days, and then it dropped back down to like 15. It was crazy. But it's a thing. It's a really weird thing, but it's definitely a thing.
Yep. Okay, we've got an African sunrise coming in, and that is not a euphemism. We've actually got an African sunrise to show you from Pippa this morning. I
Amazing.
think, Francis, you sent me something as well. Oh, yes, this I really wanted to include from yesterday because I didn't manage to squeeze it into the show. This was a great photo from you, and they are coming in thick and fast again, which I should thank you for. I just worry if I'm keeping up. But Francis Gersbach is here this morning. Good morning. Badly timed phone call. How dare they? And did you answer the phone? Cape Town 2692 or not? Or is it a more modern version of things for you, Francis? Hope you're all good. We certainly are. Now, hold on a minute. Let me get to the right place here so I can show Francis' picture yesterday. It was a cycling themed one, and here it is. I think we got a little bit of what we're looking for from two angles here. I think.
Oh wow! What photo!
Sunrise through the push bike there. Isn't that great? Fantastic.
That's
so thank you very much. That is a beauty. And we've got some very gifted photographers in our community here. And the African sunrise as well from Pippa, who doesn't shy away from such matters here. Here we go. Are you still smirking about the idea of an African sunrise being a euphemism of some sort?
Well, yeah, that. And I just had a really terrible idea for something that we could do, but I'll talk to you about it later.
Stand by everybody for that. The look on his face said a lot there. Hold on a minute. So there you go, African sunrise. That is beautiful. A great singer I know, Pat Orchard, recorded a tune called "The Singing Grass." He grew up in Africa, and there is something about people who've had African childhoods. They speak so highly and richly of their African childhoods. I know Pat grew up there, and his songs are inspired a lot by growing up in Africa. Singing Grass, look it up on Spotify. It would go with that photograph so well, Pippa. Thank you very much for that. Absolutely beautiful. I think there's more to come. Let's get back to the comments, Michael. That's what we're here for. They're working us not too hard this morning. Let's see. Yes. But it wasn't going to be long until there was a fiscal question coming in.
Oh my God.
Michael, is it a legal requirement to have a fiscal rep if you live in Portugal?
It depends. Normally, most people will appoint a fiscal representative if they're not actually in Portugal, but they're wanting to get a NIF and so forth before moving there. So generally speaking, it's only in the transition period until you arrive. So, but again, it depends. If you're happy to wait until you get here and do it all yourself, then you don't need a fiscal representative. It's only if you're not living in Portugal.
Yeah, my angle on that, Paul, is people have been. It's a bit like when people said to the Brits, "You won't be able to have a bank account anymore if you don't live in England." Or UK, and it turns out that that was a nuanced thing that the papers had got hold of just to kind of, to make their points about Brexit or whatever. And I think this is another one of those, this idea that you must have a fiscal rep, I think is an idea that's been going around social media as though it were a legal requirement, as you put here. Yeah. Now, I don't think it is a legal requirement in its own right, but it is a legal requirement to pay taxes. Yes. And the best way to do that, and this is if you have, if you're renting out a property, if you own a property and you need to pay your council tax, as it were, your council utility bills, then if you've got anything to in terms of filing your taxation status around your home or a business, then you do need a fiscal rep. Well, you don't need one.
You need an accountant, but you don't need a fiscal. You don't need a fiscal rep. Yeah. So even when I started working in Portugal as an employee, I had to do a tax return every year because it's a legal requirement. Whereas in England, for example, you don't if you're an employee usually. But I did, and I paid an accountant to do it for me, and it wasn't a lot. So it was just a one-off payment for them to do it. And obviously now with my company, I have an accountancy firm that takes care of everything. But in terms of actually having a fiscal representation, I believe it's only, let's say you're coming from the US and you want to buy a property and move here. Or even not, rent somewhere with a D7 maybe, you only need a fiscal representative if you want to have everything set up before you arrive. Otherwise, you don't need one. Again, please don't take my words as stone because I'm not a professional tax advisor, but that is my understanding anyway. So some people prefer to have a representative while they're transitioning before becoming a permanent resident because they have the comfort that everything's being taken care of.
I say, yeah, you make a very good point there. And because I was conflating accountancy and fiscal representation there. Yeah. My mistake. Now, that's why you need to go back to I don't think the question is it a legal requirement to have a fiscal rep? The question is, what are you trying to do? What are you trying to
exactly. What are the benefits of having one? What can I do with or without one? What can I legally do with or without one? That probably should be the questions. And for that, you need to reach out to the professionals in your lovely directory, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And is it to do with the home and the taxation matters around the home? Is it to do with business? Is it to do with taxation on pensions, which will happen now? There will be 10% on your pension payable to the Portuguese government as well. So get that nuance right by asking, I guess, for the best answer, get the best question in. So I think that I think figure out what it is that's underlying that, rather than this thing about is it a legal requirement to have a fiscal rep, because it ain't necessarily so, is what I would say there. Exactly. Check with the pros, and you can find them in our business directory. Okay, we've had the badly timed phone call, and we're glad to have you here now, Francis. Bing as well, Translate does both European and Brazilian there. Thank you for that, Thunder. The Algarve, says Gareth, was inundated with visitors. The shops have finally gotten quiet enough to be bearable again. So that's what Michael was talking about. A lot of Portuguese people on holiday in the Algarve in those last two.
I think the locals avoid the beach in August.
Right.
Because it's so busy.
Busy times. Car hire might be going down again soon. Quickening, there can only be one. Have I inadvertently quoted Star Wars again there? It does sound a little bit Star Warsy there, doesn't it? The quickening, there can only be one. I'm not sure what I've said there, but is that some sort of philosophical response to me saying that, and you and I saying, Michael, that time is perhaps moving faster? We will. Happy September, everyone. Oh, Jacqueline, stop it. 150 days till Christmas and minced pies. There's someone
there's always one, isn't there? There's always
one. There's always one. Kids back to school, and then as soon as the back to school marketing goes down, the Christmas stuff comes up, I guess. So, Jacqueline, you're so naughty.
That is definitely one. Sorry to interrupt. That is definitely one thing I don't miss about the UK, because, as you know, Carl, in the UK, sometimes in August they start with the Christmas marketing. Here, not until the first week of December will you see anything.
Quite right too, and then it gets intense, doesn't it? Then you really know it's Christmas.
Yeah, then it's really intense. They make up for it after that.
They do, because all the towns get decorated, and the Principios, aren't they? The little crypts and so on, the nativity scenes that are shared in the streets, and the music.
We should get people to send in photos of the Christmas lights in their town for the December one, because they'd have gone up by then.
Yep, let's do that as well as a New Year's special. Good morning from a cloudy East Algarve. Okay, so a little bit cloudy down there. Morning, Elaine. What's Christmas? We just did that, Patricia, funnily enough. It's quite amazing. It starts when it should, which is the 1st of December. And people do love Christmas here. It's a very important part of the culture. And the nativity scenes are extraordinary. The best one I've been to was in Penella, which was a walk-in nativity, which was a cross between like a model village and a nativity scene. It was absolutely extraordinary, really. And going up to Penella Castle anyway is a joy in its own right. Jersey, already missing the Algarve hot and humid weather. Here on Long Island, it's awful, humid and rainy weather since we came back. I bet you want to be back here, don't you, Jersey? And thank you for your photos as well, by the way. Welcome
who comes with good intentions. Yeah, that was the thing on the wall. Welcome
who comes with good intentions, which does make me think we are a little bit behind in the comments. People that went to these various translation apps, I think, to help us with that. Welcome. Well, hold on a minute. I've just skipped a load there I need to scroll back. My goodness. Okay. Raining in the Algarve too as well. So weather coming in from all over the country saves me watering in the garden that Louise is looking after at the moment over there. My goodness, hold on. We've got lots of comments. Suddenly, they've just piled in from nowhere. Come on, artificial intelligence. Try and keep up with me this morning. Oh my word! I don't know what's happened here. The young primates are still shouting at each other in the comments as well, and I'm going way back, scrolling up the page. Oh my goodness! We've got a lot of work to do in the 10 minutes that we've got left.
Go for it. Smash it.
Fiscal reps, let's smash this, as Michael says there. Just need to sell 3 cars, 1 transit van, and my beloved Harley Sportster. That sounds like quite a lot of work to be doing there. Good God. Oh, very good. That was for the picture. These comments, they got hidden, and now they're suddenly all here. So that one went with this picture. Good God. Very good. Very, very good, Thunder Duck.
Yeah.
Excellent. What questions? They were there all the time, Michael. What were the biggest player transfers in the Portuguese transfer window? Michael will know about this from Arba. And who is going to win the league this year? Michael.
Yes, good question. I think the league, I think probably it will be Benfica. I think that's my prediction. It was actually quite a quiet transfer window. There wasn't a huge amount of activity, so there's not a lot I can say on that. But I think probably Benfica will win. Although they started very tentatively. They were playing Tondela, which, as you know, Tondela is a small town in the north, and played in the 2nd division for many years. They went 1-0 up, and then Benfica came back and won 2-1. Wow. So there you go. Yeah.
Shaky start. And what do you think of Ronaldo then returning to the EPL?
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. It's pretty amazing. I mean, the guy's 36, but he's still performing at the top level, right? So I think last year in Serie A he scored over 25 goals. I think 30 in total in all competitions. And he's a winner. They were missing that winning mentality, so maybe he can get them to the line. We'll see. We'll find out. I think he'll be playing Newcastle on the 10th of September or 11th, I think it is.
That's going to be a great day, isn't it? Portuguese and English watching, obviously. Matty is driving with a crew of drivers. I'm not sure what that means. Oh, okay, with all the dogs there. Hola, bon dia. Capricorn 12 is here, everybody. How many of you have joint Portuguese citizenship? Does it fill you with a warm, ready break glow like the old adverts of the 70s? I hope so. Are you, what was it? Are you bi?
Joint. Am I bi? Oh my God. Yeah. Joint, dual nationality, they call it. Not yet, but I'm in the process of getting it. But the advantage of being from the UK and many other countries is you don't have to give up your home nationality. You can have dual citizenship. So I will have a British and a Portuguese passport. But there are certain countries where you have to renounce your home nationality. So it's worth finding out before you start that process. And then best service, Wi-Fi service in Portugal. Patricia, my advice would be to do this and stick your finger out the window, because who knows? It varies massively, honestly. You
might even get a stronger signal through your wet finger than you would with some
services. I would say if you live closer to the coast because of the wind, if there isn't like a receptor that does that triangle, I mean, again, I'm not a technophobe at all, but I think there's some science behind that. But it's worth checking it out before you move to a new place. Yeah.
Andy, thank you, Michael. Internet is good and relatively cheap. Mobile cell phones are expensive, as contracts don't include the phone. Well said.
That's one thing to bear in mind. They don't include the phone, but I think they're cheap. I think it works out cheaper anyway when you get it as a package with your internet provider. Because I'm paying. Well, my company's paying about €60 a month for everything, and that includes TV as well, internet, phone, with unlimited minutes. So I think that's a good deal.
Okay. Yeah. Excellent. Kelele Malongo, good morning, everybody from South Africa this morning. Where can I buy land? Where can I grow wine grapes? Everywhere in Portugal, pretty much.
Yeah.
Obviously not in the middle of Lisbon, but although people do grow grapes there, but not on a grand scale for wine. But yeah, Portugal is legendary for wine production. Well, secret around the world.
Maybe not the Algarve. I think it's too hot there, but I think Alentejo, Douro. Check out all the wine grape varieties. I think there's 14 different wine growing regions in Portugal. So you can have a look at the map online. You'll be able to find it, and you'll be able to see all the different parts of the country where they grow it.
Stand by for the Algarve wine producer pushback from Michael there.
Whoops.
I have
do they grow? Surely not red wine. It must be white wine in the Algarve. I've never had an Algarvian. Is it Algarvian? I've never had an Algarvian wine before. I don't think they can grow it.
It's a great question, actually. I think there is Algarve wine, but now you mention it, I'm doubting myself. We will see. Somebody will look that up. Thunderduck does have a landline, but do you answer it with a special telephone voice? They do come free with the package, of course. They come free with the package. That's why most people have them. And
but it stays in a box. It stays in a box. No one hooks it up. No one uses it.
You just want the line.
Exactly. The ring is turned off. There we go. Exactly.
Yeah. And if someone does ring it, it's going to be a telemarketer, isn't it? More expensive than France, and no contract is required in France, says Susan.
Okay.
To Patricia there. Good morning. Yeah, Patricia, on that matter of Wi-Fi, check where you're living. The best quality and value will be known by your neighbours. So get to know your neighbours if you can. Debbie Burton, morning, Debbie. Good morning. I have it's that people. I answer it with hello. I bet you don't. Or Andy's the sort of person who will answer and say, hello.
Well, it could have been ahoy. That was the other. So hello was invented. Did you know that? I found that out recently. Hello was invented because people needed to say something when they answered the telephone, and they were thinking about saying ahoy. So you could have said ahoy.
Ahoy. Okay. Or aha.
Or he doesn't believe it. Check it out later, mate. Honestly, I'm not trolling you. It's true.
Or the Happy Valley Chinese takeaway. Can I take your order, please? That's the best way to answer every time, isn't it?
Yeah.
Don't forget the party line. Oh my goodness, Martin Naylor.
Wow.
Yes, that could have been a lot of cheap fun. Happy times. You tell them the number. So many people.
They're getting defensive. They're getting defensive,
aren't they? People, you've challenged people with possibly a bit set in their telephonic ways here. As a kid in California, our phone number was 7J.
Wow.
That few phones there in that part of California at that time that you just hello 7J. Amazing. We know it's 7J because it's the only number. That's right. Bon dia from Ron in Cascais. Hey Ron, how are you? Where you been?
Bon dia, Ron.
Francis, I recall the early days of mobile phones. Having lunch with my mum at a cafe, she got a call from a friend and she asked them, "How did you know where I was?"
Brilliant.
Landline phone on the table in the hall on a crochet dolly. Absolutely right. Midlife crisis. Telephone table if you were posh, and one of those, you pull your finger down with the little to the ABC.
Well, I was wrong. Apparently, it's just me then. Everyone still has a landline. Well, there you go. You learn something new, don't you?
Yes. I asked about pets. I think we nailed that. Suddenly, the questions had disappeared on Ask Anything About Portugal Wednesday, and then they suddenly all appeared. So we've got some catching up to do. Are you all right for 10 or 15 minutes?
Yeah, no worries, mate. Yeah, we can go on a bit longer. It's all good.
I asked the question to Michael. Yes, I think we dealt with that as well. Nothing more to say about Portugal. Cultural outrage. Oh dear, we're in trouble this morning, aren't we?
Yeah.
We've already been encyclopedic. That's the point. Is Portugal pet friendly? Yes. Okay, we've done that. So yeah, I don't know what happened.
I can say something about pets as well, because not just in the home. So it used to be forbidden to take your dog to a restaurant. Because I have friends who came to visit us in 2014, and they were saying to me, "Oh, no establishment is letting us bring dogs in." It only became a legal requirement to allow certain establishments to allow dogs to be there. I think they can choose whether they want to or not, but there was a point where they couldn't even accept them, even if they wanted to. So I think things have got better. I mean, I can hear about 15 dogs barking right now, so that tells you everything you need to know. So yeah, it is a dog-friendly country, I would say.
Yeah, for sure, absolutely right. Project Frugal, bon dia. What's current rules for arriving in Portugal if you are ... unvaxxed? Well, as I understand it, Project Frugal, and good morning to you, Vinny.
Depends where you're coming from. That's the problem, isn't it? It's different for every country. From the UK, you don't have to quarantine, I believe, still. And yeah, this whole vaccination, non-vaccination thing is just, I think it's still ludicrous, because even so, my mother, she came to visit me and she's been vaccinated, but she went back to the UK and she still had to quarantine and do a PCR test 4 times, and she's been vaccinated. So they still haven't given people a clear definition of what they can and can't do, whether they've been vaccinated or not. I think if you've got a vaccine, it's easier, but you still need to show a PCR test in a lot of countries and quarantine anyway.
Yeah, you need to be tested. Project Frugal, if you're unvaccinated, is I think is the answer there. And yeah, it is complicated because it depends on where you're coming from. A question: we have a T5 in Lisbon. Should we start some Airbnb accommodation for our spare rooms? Do you think it would be worthwhile? Oh, that's an excellent question. It's not that easy to get set up. You do have to go through a process to do that.
Yeah.
And there are
And depending on where you live, where the property is in Lisbon, if it's in a prime area, then the tax percentage can be higher, and the amount you have to pay to Airbnb is quite good. So I would say, definitely look into it, but just make sure you've got it all costed up before you start selling it.
And see if anyone else is doing it in the area, and have a look, see if they're doing good business there. I would say. But, it looks like you could possibly, but crank up the Excel and do your business plan. That's the way, isn't it? Carl has invented a whole new way of saying a branch.
Yeah.
Oh, which bit was it when I said how an Englishman would say it, like a branches? But a branch, I think, is the way to say it. Confused the hell out of me. Give us your phonetic pronunciation, midlife crisis Walter. I think it is a branch. My husband is from Avis Alto Alentejo. You must take a trip there and see Avis. Okay, I will. I don't need any encouragement to go back to the Alentejo, actually. In the UK, there were only two providers, Cellnet and Vodafone, and the number 07 came on later due to demand. That's right. Same in London, wasn't it? They had to go to 0207, 0208, and not a lot of people know that. Thank you very much, Paul. Interesting stuff about the history of phones this morning. I have a friend who asked where she should look for. Small town coastal, but she could be persuaded for beauty elsewhere. Excuse me, not touristy, friendly, laid back. Well, I think you can tick the boxes of laid back, friendly anyway for Portugal.
Maybe Nazaré, somewhere like Nazaré. That's quite a pretty place, and it's coastal and it's really cheap compared to Lisbon and Porto. So maybe Nazaré, somewhere like that.
Could be persuaded for beauty elsewhere. Ron, I mean Cascais, you're going to be touristy, aren't you? And going to the big places, it's going to be touristy. It's going to get
Peniche, maybe Peniche as well. Peniche, Nazaré. So basically, like Ron, what I would do, mate, is have a look on one of these real estate websites where you can search for properties based on the area, and just go on Google and look from like Lisbon upwards, or maybe even further down, up from Sagres all the way up. Just look at all the towns on the coast and just check it out and see what the prices are. But I know Peniche used to be a lot cheaper. And it's beautiful. So have a look online.
It's crying out for a road trip, is that, to satisfy that inquiry, and you'll have a great time doing it. And I think it looks like, picking the little towns or villages in between the big ones is where you might get some joy for your friend there, Ron. Okay. Grats Patricia from Hank. A great idea, Michael, flipping the questions onto me there. I hope I passed that test.
No, we were running out of content ideas, so I had to do something.
I knew what you were doing. And then we found all the questions. There's the front end of the cat to go with the earlier self-portrait. Thank you for that, Thunder. I think I understood what Carl said, because 4 years in Dundee will let you understand anything. That was my Stephen Gerrard Scouse accent there. I have a question. When do you think my CEF appointment will happen? Just need my residency ID card. Andy, how can we possibly know that? We know they're on a
how long is a piece of string, mate? That's a difficult one.
Sorry, but I think he's just trying to help as well there. We had a bit of a question moment.
But what I would say, Andy, is as long as you've got the appointment in the pipeline, you should have some kind of document or receipt from the CEF saying you're waiting for your appointment, and as long as you have that, your residency is. And so you're not going to get deported, mate, just because you haven't had your appointment yet. So don't worry, but give them a call and find out if you're worried about it not being in the system.
And keep that paper trail going, or the digital trail, just to show that you've kept up your side of things. Bon dia Portugal, con Carl Munson. Bon dia Portugal with Carl Munson. Thank you very much, Edmundo. How are you?
Good morning.
I bet you've had a busy month. That's really interesting, Michael. The home owners where I am sitting were almost going to sell up and go back to the UK after 3 years. Yeah, it's a lot to do with your. I think it is a lot to do with your
psychological. It's psychological. I've got friends, and they won't want me saying it, I won't name them, but I've got a really good friends, a family, and they're from the UK, and they lived in Santiago, Chile, but they left before like a year and a half, and then they moved to Copenhagen, and they lived there for less than 2 years, and now they've moved to Portugal, and I think this will be their 3rd year in Portugal. And I said to them, guys, you've got to give it more than 2 years. Just wait it out, and I guarantee you'll then know for sure. And I think they'll stay here now permanently. So yeah, I think 2-3 years is a really crucial time frame, because you know the first 6 months to a year you're still living in with that adrenaline and like excitement, and then after a year the reality hits home that you're going to be living here, and then year 1 to year 2 is usually the hardest one, but then after that it's just all gets easier. And obviously learning the language is so important to feel at home, otherwise you're just in this expat bubble and you don't have a genuine local experience. And I think that probably does take about 2 to 3 years to really start being able to understand and speak in Portuguese with confidence, you know, especially if you're older people like us.
Who used to answer the phone, hello?
Exactly. If you used to answer the phone, saying the number of your landline, then maybe give it 3 years. But you never know, right? My mother-in-law, she moved here permanently 3 years ago, and her Portuguese is amazing now. So I think, you know, anyone can learn it at any age. I'm not being ageist there at all. I'm just having a bit of fun. But anyone can learn it with time.
I'm going to introduce to you now the spiral of integration, okay? Because this is not a static thing. If you are having experiences which are moving you up the spiral of integration, you won't give it a second thought. If, however, you start thinking, I'll never learn this language, I really miss baked beans, I miss those people and that people, you're going down on the cycle of integration.
I'm really glad you brought that up, because that is another thing that I have a slight issue with, which is trying to replicate your lifestyle at home. So, for example, I've now given up on trying to replicate a proper full English breakfast here in Portugal, because it's just impossible. So I save it for when I go back to England, and then I really enjoy it because I go to a proper like cafe and just get a really filthy full English. And the same with, although I think it has improved a lot now, there are better international cuisine options. But when I first got here, I mean, finding a decent curry or Thai restaurant was really difficult. So I kind of gave up on that as well. But maybe I should start looking again. But yeah, trying to replicate your shopping items and your diet, I think, is a mistake, because you're missing out on so many things that you can't get at home. So, you know, sometimes it's nice to indulge, and of course I get nostalgia, and I'll go and get some baked beans or, you know, some Jaffa cakes from the British shop down the road. But I try not to do it too often, because otherwise you just end up, I don't know. Everyone's different, right? So I'm not saying you should or shouldn't do anything, but you know what I mean, right? I think it's a mindset. It's a mindset.
And if you're getting daily disappointments, that's going to take you down the spiral. If you can't get this, you can't get that, you're missing this and you're missing that, it's not going to help. It really isn't. And you need more of the upward spiral of like, wow, there's a new experience. Wow, there's a new food. Wow, didn't I do well today in conversation with Portuguese people? In your heart, you know, don't you, if you're going up or down that. And I want a picture from you. So when next time you are back in Blighty and you go to one of those cafes, I mean, do you go say, all right, sweetheart, I'll have the egg, bacon, beans, a double bubble with a couple of slices and a nice cup of tea?
I mean, I don't know what the prices will be these days, but when I used to live in Forest Gate in East London back in like 2007, and there was a cafe where for like £4.50 you could just get the proper breakfast, which, you know, even had, you know, it was just everything. It was just ridiculous. It was just like a massive plate with everything: bacon, sausages, beans, hash browns, fried tomato, fried bread, chips, like everything, and a cup of tea as well. So for me, I'm not into these sort of like upmarket grilled full English breakfast where you have to pay like more than a score. For me, it's got to be cheap and a little bit dingy and authentic, and that's when I think you get the proper the greasy spoon, right?
The greasy spoon, or the dirty glass, as I think is the same turn of phrase here in Portugal. And for that sort of money, you're not expecting any meat in the sausages anyway. Hank, for us, Portugal does all the big things right. There you go. No place is perfect, but so many of the national values line up with the moment. It feels great still, and he's still basking in that sense of goodness and greatness. There is Hank. A morning from South Africa, says Michelle. I'm fairly new to the channel, so I've not caught up on video. So let me ask. I would like to know where would be a great area for us to start off as expats, fairly affordable. Oh, Michelle, that's so difficult to answer, isn't it? Because
it's really difficult, Michelle. Yeah, because there's so many different lifestyles you can have in Portugal. So, you know, first thing I'd ask is, do you have children, and is choice of school a consideration? If not, do you want to have more of a city lifestyle? Are you happy to be hippies and live in the middle of nowhere? So I would always say, like, start by deciding where you want to live, but then go online, look at property rental and purchasing prices, and that will kind of help guide you. And you know, feel free to send me an email if you want to ask any more questions. I'm happy to answer that.
Fantastic. And it's not because there aren't many good places. This is the problem, Michelle. The reason why I find that difficult is because there are so many good possible answers. We have got so many questions this morning, Michael, that the early ones have just disappeared now. I'm so sorry about this. So Louise put a number 1 in front of her first question, and the furthest I can scroll back now is number 2. So please, if we've missed something, pop it in, or maybe not, because it's already 11 minutes past 10. Okay. So this is the second question for Louise. At one point, all they wanted was carpet and central heating. A cold, damp house woes there. Yeah, and that's understandable. Totally. Thunder Duck saying, being here 5 months, it definitely feels like home. My biggest fear is having to go back to the States. That's an interesting thing, isn't it? People thinking, I want to be here, I don't want to go home. That's the other side of our conversation.
Yeah, there's also the pressure of, like, because you sell it to people home of this new life you're having, and then if you come back, you see it as a failure. So there is that pressure. And obviously, you know, what I wouldn't say is, if you genuinely don't feel like Portugal is for you, don't just stay here for the sake of it, because you'll just be miserable, because it isn't for everyone. And being an expat isn't for everyone as well. Some people, you know, they don't adapt for whatever reason, and they want to go home, and that's absolutely fine as well. So I would say, you know, don't torture yourself, but try and give it at least 2 years before you decide, because I think a year, 18 months is too short. It's not long enough to properly feel like if you're going to want to live here.
And make plans for missing people. That is the worst thing. You will miss people. You might not, but many people do. And I think the thing with that is to have a plan. Get them over here, go see them, but make a plan to take the pain out of that.
And more importantly, what I would say is that, and this is someone that's lived in 4 or 5 different countries, is you will meet amazing people wherever you go.
Yes, well said.
Always meet amazing people wherever you go. So by all means, you know, make an effort to stay in touch with those people that matter to you at home, but also focus on meeting and making new friends and relationships, because that to me is the best part of the whole experience, right? You have to do that.
Yeah, well said, well said. Michelle in Australia, morning. Any recommendations for pastries and sweets? Basic answer to that is yes. I mean, we got an earlier picture that came in from Andy. This is wonderful. So that I can answer this visually. There you go. Any of those?
Yeah.
that was Andy in his Portuguese pasteleria. Padaria the
and,
other day.
I don't know what it's like in other parts of Portugal, but I know in Lisbon there used to be you'd hear like a bell ringing from like the door of a cafe, and that would mean the pastels are not that fresh; they've just been made, and then you can run in and buy them. Yeah. So that's the thing, because when I first got here, the pastels de Belém were the most famous ones, and they're like still probably unquestionably the best custard tarts you can get in Portugal, but the normal ones are also very good, especially if they've just been made fresh. And now I think that most places will kind of ring a bell to tell you that they've just been taken out of the oven. So yeah, worth looking around for that as well.
And the stampede towards the sounds wonderful. So the warm custard with some canela on there, the cinnamon on there. Oh, stop it, Michael. Right, Louise, I burnt my bridges. Can't go back for at least 5 years. So if I have a wobble, I have to stay. It was interesting because Arbar was saying that to me. I burnt my longboat, not my bridges, Arbar. But I guess that is questionable. Did I burn my bridges? Okay. South Africa, being South Africa, we're looking for an affordable place near Lisbon with a good school for our 5-year-old. Okay, so Lisbon suburbs then, Michael. South of the water we always recommend, don't we?
Yeah, I mean, you've got, so around like where Carl and I used to live, Aroeira, there's some nice schools around there, and it's affordable. I mean, the traffic can be a bit of an issue, so if you're having to go into Lisbon during peak hours, then probably not for you. But I would say have a look at south of the river, or north of Lisbon, or even east, sort of northeast as well. So have have a look around, Michelle, and definitely check out a couple of, I don't know if I can say real estate websites, which is the one that you guys recommend, Carl?
Say what you want. Say what you want.
Yeah, so there's one I use, Michelle, called Idealista, which I don't know if I can write this in the. Let me just see if I can write this in here. People will be able to see this.
Care of that for us.
Yeah.
I would recommend the Ribatejo Valley as well. Underrated. You know, there are so many places you can get to Lisbon in less than an hour.
Yeah.
Silver Coast, you can get to Lisbon in less than an hour from the Silver
Yeah.
Coast. So don't forget that, because it sounds like another city or town away from Lisbon. It's still within an hour often. So draw that ring around Lisbon and then explore some of the places way out. So it's probably better to go an hour out rather than 25, 30 minutes in many ways, because you'll be subject to all the stress and hassle of the big city life. And you can get,
and don't forget the north. Don't forget the north. So don't just assume Lisbon is the be all and end all, because it isn't. Porto is amazing as well, and you might find even cheaper options, sort of 45 minutes from Porto compared to 45 minutes from Lisbon. So Michelle, I would say, take your time, have a look at all the different options you have, and you'll be surprised at what you can find. And also, even more importantly, and I know this could make it more complicated because you've got a 5-year-old and you don't want them to be changing schools too often, but I honestly think sometimes the best advice is just get here, put your roots down somewhere, and then you've got time to really discover the country properly and where you want to live. Because I guarantee every single expat in this community that has moved to Portugal, they're not living in the same place when they first moved here, if they've been living here a while. And I'm like that, Carl's like that, and I'm sure a lot of other people are as well. So I would say definitely don't be afraid to change your plans when you arrive here. Just get here and find the best option. Then you've got time to really decide, long term where you want to be, if you want to be here long term. Yep.
Perfect. Great advice. And that's why we have him here first Wednesday of every month. Ask anything about Portugal. We will finish at 10:30. Okay. Is that work for you, Michael?
Yeah, that's fine. That's what, 10 minutes? Yeah, that's fine. No problem.
The questions are still, and then they're disappearing as well. They're dropping off at the other end. So I'm so sorry if we didn't get to your question. And I know we've had a super chat in from Marty as well. Marty's bought us a drink this morning. Oh, there it is. A super sticker from Marty.
Oh, wow.
There's another beer I owe you when we meet up. How are you doing on the booze? Are you back on it full time?
I'm actually back off it again, right? And I was going to ask you about this. Are you still off it from May?
Yeah, definitely. No, from my birthday, July the 7th. I'm off for a year. So I've done July, August. So yeah, coming up to 2 months.
2 months. How you feeling, buddy? You feeling good?
No. Still knackered and desperate for a refreshing beer every now and then, but that's not the point.
Okay. Give it a bit more time. No, I stopped again 2 days ago because I had a few beers over the summer and I started to feel a bit bloated again. So I'll probably be off now until Christmas, and then we'll see.
Good man. All right. I don't think Carl is trolling, Michael. You are more knowledgeable about some things than many Portuguese. So there you go. That's a great accolade for you, my friend there. Random question, since no one else is asking. Oh, that was in our fallow period of questions earlier on in the show. And then it all changed. Are there established quality bookbinders and printers in Portugal? You can bet your life there are.
Yeah.
There are so many kind of artisan, craft-based, ancient industries here. That's just, I don't know of one, but I'm certain that there will be. And some street in Porto or Lisboa, you will find somebody doing that. These great and ancient art forms are still here in Portugal, because Portugal just makes and does everything. You can find it somewhere. Fantastic. Great photo. Wonder which one that was, whether it was the cakes or not. Stunning. Another random question from Carla. Anyone know about Lisbon airport arrivals? There are still delays there, I'm afraid. I've heard of people being delayed for 2.5, 3 hours. So anticipate that.
Is there a strike again, or?
Yeah, Seth, the frontier folks are having go slow or random strike action there, and I don't think that's over yet. There we go. Africa will always be in our blood and hearts, says Jacqueline, who also said she fell in love on Christmas Eve. That's why she loves Christmas so much. I did see that, and then it just disappeared again. I hope I don't bring Dublin rain. We have that in April. It is the month of rain. There are April showers in Portugal. You can expect that. Hope this doesn't seem an odd question. We don't mind those, Jeff. Are screens on windows and patio balcony doors common in Portuguese apartments? If not, is it easy to get them installed? Yes and yes, right?
Yeah, I have them on mine, and they're very easy to get installed.
Okay, you need, going back to fiscal reps now. The tech is all over the place this morning. You need a
No
fiscal
worries.
rep if you're not going to be an actual resident. So Jacqueline thinks you
Yeah.
do there. Okay.
Only if you're not planning to move here permanently or during your transition period, if you want things set up before you get here permanently. So like I said, if let's say you're coming from the US, but you want to have everything set up when you arrive, NEEF, bank account, all of that, then you need a fiscal rep to do that for you on your behalf. But if you're living in Portugal as a permanent resident, you don't need one.
All right, great. And then I think that will run on the forum. We should, with that, if it's not there already, it should be on expatsportugal.com/community. Bon dia alegria. I have plans to move to Portugal within the next 2 years and looking forward to it. What does the citizenship test entail after 5 years? What are the chances of not being successful? Do you know people who've been through this, Michael?
As long as you don't commit any crimes, I think you're fine. I mean, the language test is a joke. It's really, really easy. Yeah, and the only other thing you have to kind of like be a bit wary of. So what they'll be looking for is, because they want to make sure that you're actually committing and that you're living here permanently. So some of the things in your application they will ask to see evidence of is what shows that you're part of your local community, and that could be something as simple as a gym membership that you've had, or membership to one of the football clubs, or something like that. It's not necessary, but it's worth bearing in mind anything that you can show that proves that you've actually sort of been part of the local community is important. But yeah, general speaking terms, no. I mean, you've lived here 5 years, you're entitled to it, you apply, and then you do the language exam, and providing you haven't committed any crimes, then it shouldn't be a problem.
Excellent. And alternatively, you can just extend your residency, right?
Or you can have permanent resident. Yeah, you don't actually have to become a Portuguese national. So at the moment, I'm still a permanent resident. And the only difference between being a permanent resident and a Portuguese national is I don't have a Portuguese passport, and I'm not allowed to vote. But other than that, I mean, there isn't really anything else. There's no other benefit, really. Maybe if you were looking to get a mortgage, it might be a bit easier to get a better credit, interest rate if you're a Portuguese national, but that's it.
And you could slip into the interview that you listen to the Good Morning Portugal show every day, wear the t-shirt.
Yeah, I mean, that would seal it, I'm sure.
Take the mug as well along with you. Yeah. The Quickening was a book by Art Bell, also by Stuart Wilde, as I recall as well. Andy's helping Carla here. You'll be arriving into Terminal 1 through passport control and then onto baggage claim carousels and then out to the arrivals hall. Lots of taxis right outside. That's great advice there.
Bit of advice for people arriving to Lisbon Airport. What you want to do, because the taxi queue is massive when you come out of the door. What I tend to do is I go up to departures and there's nobody up there waiting for taxis, or go into the departures car park and just call an Uber, and they'll come in and pick you up, and it'll be cheaper than a normal taxi. So that's my little hack there.
Oh yes, sir, that's great, fantastic. And Michelle, I think, is enjoying the value this morning. Thanks so much to Antonio F. I'll look at all the factors and go from there. I didn't even see that comment, Antonio.
Me neither.
Helping out there. It's been a busy morning, and we're not even getting to the bottom of anywhere near the bottom of these questions. So sorry about that. Stop. I can't believe you're talking about Christmas, says Louise to Jacqueline. And I think some of this for that as well. No-go area. Is it possible to have a rental place for €300? It is possibly in any. Yeah, you can get rentals for that sort of money here in Portugal. The citizenship test is oral, comprehension and writing Portuguese language test. Level A2 is required officially there, so you need A2. I think that's going to change, Michael. We've talked about this before, but I think that's going to be made easier, don't you?
Well, there's also, you can do it as an oral test instead of written. I mean, I'll probably do mine as an oral test because it's I speak a lot better than I write and read. But yeah, they were talking about getting rid of it at one point. So yeah, we'll see. But it's not something you should even be concerned about. Trust me, it's not a problem.
Okay, Johan Swartz, what is the Portugal Bank's attitude towards expats, cars, and home loans? I've not done either, but it's a big.
The spread is going to be higher when you first got here, like anywhere, right? Because you've got to build up a credit history. So yeah, it can make it difficult. What I'd say is to anyone who wanting to buy a car or a home with a loan is that if you've done the declaração de renda, which is your tax declaration, if you've done it for at least 2 years or possibly 3, then it's a lot easier to get credit for a car and a mortgage. And what I'd say about cars, there's a lot of options. It's interesting, but normally in Portugal, because some people are quite shocked by how many nice cars there are, it's because the Portuguese will tend to get quite a long loan for their car, often up to sort of 6, 7, 8, sometimes 10 years, paying very small amounts every month, which to Northern Europeans and Americans, that might seem crazy because the second-hand car market depreciates in value so much. But in Portugal, it holds its value, so that's why that exists. And yeah, that's just a cultural thing. So something to bear in mind.
Yep, thank you for that, Michael. Good morning, Carl. Michael, new level of crazy this week. The builders have been round to do the certified jobs I needed doing. Very impressed with Daniel and his crew again, working like soldier ants. There you go, Portuguese workers. Big shout out. Lots of love to them. Bon dia in the Algarve. I've noticed lots of houses have burglar bars in front of windows. How does one reconcile this with Portugal being one of the safest countries in the world? Elra answers that. One of the safest doesn't mean crime proof.
Yeah, exactly. Better be safe than sorry. It's just, it's very common. It's very common. It's very common in Spain, in the south of Spain as well. So I would just say, worth it. Why not?
Yeah. And it's cultural, I think, as well. They're in the build, aren't they? It's not like they've been retrofitted because everyone's afraid of crime. I just think that's how they get built. Algarve is great for fine. So I thought that might be coming. The reds in the Algarve are fab. So there you go.
Okay.
Loads of wine growers and producers here, red and white. Ate Azloish. What does that mean? To the Lions?
I think that's sport. Is that a football thing? Is that sport? Is that sport? Yeah, must be.
Yep, there is wine produced in the Algarve. There is wine produced in Alvor and Raposeira. I will live in Cascais, says Patricia. She's chosen it. Oh, there's Marty's super sticker again. Thank you for that, Marty. Appreciate it. Michael and I will have a drink when we next see each other. Anna Artisan, I'm moving to Portugal in December. I have online businesses involving mailing items internationally. Need a good postal service. Is it possible to rely on the postal service when running a business in Portugal?
No. No is the honest answer. I've had really bad experience with CTT, especially around Christmas and during the pandemic, which is understandable. So yeah, the mailing service is not reliable. Courier service is much more reliable. And I've noticed, because we don't have Amazon yet in Portugal. If you want to order anything from Amazon, it's better to use Amazon Spain or even Amazon UK, and that is very quick and reliable. So I would say don't rely on a good postal service in Portugal. That's one of the downsides of it at the moment.
And I think look at other services, which are, that's growing all around the world, isn't it? The traditional postal services are being cooked by other options that are available now. I would go look into couriers for sure, as Michael says there, Anna. Okay, lots of people helping each other in the comments. So good to see that. You have hit the nail on the head. Just a few more comments there, because we got to go. You have hit the nail on the head. You'll always be missing something if you try to replicate your old life. Spam, baked beans and spam, which you can get here. $6.50 for a mother of a breakfast. I think that's in Lisbon, so he probably needs to tell you where that is.
Oh, where is that? Please don't go without telling me that. I need to know that.
You can't just put that.
I need details.
Let's stick to the advice to people.
Honestly, I've been disappointed so many times with full English breakfast in Portugal. Like, I've not found it anywhere that replicates it properly. So I'll be happy to be proven wrong.
All right. Advice from Jersey: embrace the new wonderful culture. Yeah, I think that's really good advice there. What else have we got? Douglas is here. Hey, Doug. I feel great having changed my diet and my routine in Portugal.
Yeah.
And let's see, if it doesn't work as an expat and you go home, you still had an amazing experience that no one can take away.
Absolutely. Well said, Hank. Well said.
And be a better person for it. My blood pressure went way back after returning home and watching mainstream news. Yeah. Let's face it, not a brilliant time to be in the States right now. I only buy extra virgin olive oils and organic, but still going to the town or village market in Portugal oil is much better. So people are talking about all sorts of things, and we welcome that. Pavlov's pastry, ring the bell and everyone comes running. There's a meme for Portugal, I think.
Yeah.
Regarding traffic, use a motorcycle or e-bike, pass the traffic jams with ease. What a wonderful bunch you are. So much mutual help. People helping other people. Michael here today on Ask Anything About Portugal. a slightly bumpy ride. It has to be said, for us. There are things that we've missed today, and I'm so sorry for that. So do please come back.
It's the first one after the summer, right? So we're just waking up. All right, thank you. I will definitely DM you. I will definitely DM you and ask for that.
Yeah, the most important thing of the morning, obviously, is where Michael can find a full English breakfast. So,
yeah. I don't care about anything else at this point.
There's a business idea, full English breakfast, all day breakfast. Come to the Western Algarve. A final thought then. Watch your blood pressure fall through the floor. God, I love Portugal. Can't wait to get back. That kind of sums it up, doesn't it? Thank you so much, Capricorn 12. Thank you, Michael, for being here on an epic. And we still didn't answer all the questions.
I know. That was wonderful as always.
See you next month, my friend. See you on the 1st of October, where again we'll be saying, I can't believe it's another month already, right?
Yeah, exactly. Very good.
Sorry for anything I didn't get to. I will try harder tomorrow. Take care and bye for now. Ciao, ciao.
Ciao, ciao.